Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now. You recently turned 30.
Yeah,
How do you feel about not being called young anymore? Because once you turn 30, you can't be called young no more, man.
man. When I was 18 and I used to see these 30-year-olds, I used to think they were old. I used to think like, oh man, 30's so old. You should already have like 3 kids. You should be, living like a full-on oldie. But yeah, it was. I still feel like I'm 18, 19 years old. In my head, I still feel that way. So I don't know. 30 to me is the new 21.
All right. Well, I think everybody feels that way. I'm in my 40s, man, and I still feel like my mind is still 18 as well, dude. I don't know. I think that never changes.
Ah,
And did you also get engaged as well? Is that what happened?
I did. Yes, I did.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about it, man. I don't want to. I don't want. Yeah, tell me about it. Like, why did you? Were you in Hawaii or something like?
Yeah, so we had this holiday booked for a while. I actually forgot about the holiday. Um, yeah, I had the ring for a while, and I just never knew when I was gonna pull the trigger. You know what I mean? I didn't know when was the right time to do it. And then yeah, I got reminded that we were going to Hawaii, and I just thought to myself like, what a perfect scenario. We get to go to such a an amazing place, paradise, and then to be able to do it there and there, is yeah. Just I just thought it was fitting to do it there. So yeah.
You've also been, going on TV shows and doing all kinds of other stuff, man. How has it been, getting your face out there and doing the media work?
Uh, Look, these gigs are fun because it's what is it? It's still about fighting, but it's not being in the gym and getting smashed in the gym. I'm still doing what I love, which is talking about fighting, analyzing, and breaking down fights and whatnot. But I'm not in the gym actually doing it, so it's good. It's good in that sense. Plus, it's extra money on the side doing those gigs. So, yeah, always welcome those.
Man, let's talk about it. UFC 305 in Perth. You're back in Perth. The last time you were in Perth, excellent performance, beautiful, violence. Let's say you're facing off against Ricardo Ramos.
Start over.
He's a long time veteran, man, but he's only 28. He's younger than you.
Yeah,
He's been around in the UFC for a long time.
yeah.
What are your thoughts on him and his style?
Man, he's good. He's dangerous. He's all round. I feel world class. Um, but I just feel like I'm better everywhere. Um, I feel with Ricardo, he's really good when it's all one way traffic. You know what I mean? He's really good when he's the one dictating, and he's the one being the so called hammer. But he doesn't do too well when he's the nail. So yeah.
Yeah, and you look at his last two fights, he's lost the same way twice in a row. That's very unique, right? Getting submitted by guillotine in the first round. Like, is there something to that? Did you watch both fights and look at the tape?
That's what I got away from it. That's what I took away from it. I feel
Oh, okay.
he's world class. He's amazing grappler. Those don't be fooled by those two guillotine that he got caught with two guillotines. That he's a shit grappler. By no means he's a shit grappler. I think he's an amazing grappler. He's an amazing striker. He's an amazing MMA fighter. All round, he's world class. But again, it could be, I don't know what it is, but it's just something that maybe that just can't be taught, which is that sort of like that mongrel, that dog in you. You know what I mean? Like yeah.
Yeah, mongrel is a better word than dog. That should be used more. Mongrel. He got that mongrel in him, right?
Yeah, yeah, bro. That that like give me
Yeah,
more. Get hit. You're
yeah.
like, come on, best you got. Like that type of mentality. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And one thing that's unique about him, like you said, I agree with you. He is world class everywhere, but he does a lot of spinning shit, right? And he's had a couple finishes with it. How unique is it to prepare for something like that?
Oh, my training partners are loving it. They're loving the dating. They loving the be able to do all that stuff because again, it works really well because it's not thrown very often in fights, and so people never really get to train it, never get to really see it in the gym. So when it happens in a fight and it's all of a sudden you're getting hit with something spinning and you haven't, you're not used to seeing that body movement. You're sort of like a bit stunned, and then you're getting caught with something like that. It's dangerous. But all my training partners are loving putting the elbow pads on and spinning kicks and spinning elbows and spinning back fists. They're loving it.
Crazy. And let's talk about your last fight against Danny Silva, a split decision. After the fight was over and you were waiting for the decision, did you think the fight was close?
I thought it was close. I thought it was a close fight, but I feel like I took the first two rounds for sure. I feel um, I just feel like I put it on him. Like if the stats, like we were actually sitting in the cage waiting to be announced, and I was looking up at the screen, and the stats came up, and the stats was like I nearly doubled everything that he threw. So in my head I'm like okay, but then at the bottom of it had takedowns, and it had like he hit 2 out of 4 takedowns or 2 out of 5 takedowns or something like that. I'm thinking, okay, yeah, he's up there because I didn't really shoot for any takedowns, so he would have been up in that scenario. But I basically doubled whatever output he put on me.
Yeah, how shit are the judges, man? Let's just say that. How shit are the judges?
Again, it's uh, something has to
It's
happen.
perspective. Yeah.
I say again and again, something has to happen. There has to
Yeah, they
be
do.
action, or like they have to be evaluated on why they scored it the way they scored it, or I don't know. There just has to be something different.
Yeah, there's got to be something different. Transparency or like something, what I mean? Because these guys just like judge fights. We know their names, but they just judge fights and then they leave and
Yeah,
they're never responsible for their decisions.
either that, or like I've said before, we have that open round scoring. At the round, they tell us, okay, you're up this, you're up that, like I don't know. I'm just probably just fucking reaching right now, but I don't know. Something does have to change though.
Yeah, definitely. And that it's back no matter what, on paper it's back to back setbacks. How were you after that fight physically and mentally?
Physically, I was fine. Physically, I was fine. Yeah, man, it was more the mental. I was just thinking to myself, man, I'm busting my ass, and just to make all these sacrifices, especially now having a little one, and then just like not getting the result that I wanted, it's just like really quite made me question like why am I still doing this, and am I good enough to do this? And you just obviously I'm human, and doubt creeps in, especially when the result is the way it is. But yeah, it was hard. It was hard, but again, I feel like you just have to have that goldfish memory. What I would call it is essentially like get back on the horse and get back to it. Like if you dwell on it too much, you're gonna be pulling out your hair. Same with wins. Like you can't be dwelling on your last win. The same thing. It's just you just gotta you know ride the roller coaster uh, at a even rate. Don't be too down or too high on a win, or don't be too low on a loss. But just try and ride life. Somewhere in the middle there.
Yeah, I was talking with Brad Riddell. I don't even know how long ago. It was a long time ago, and he was saying like the losses linger so long and the wins last very short.
Yeah,
And I was like, really? And I was like, that's why I'm not a fighter.
I think that mentality of like, oh, I just won. It's like the people that are looking for challenges. They're like, okay, now what's next? Who's the next guy? What's the next challenge? So I feel that's a fighter mentality of like, okay, that's done now. I passed that test, that challenge. Now you're like, what's next? Where with the losses as well, it's like, yeah, it does linger because you're like, man, what did I do wrong? Where did it go wrong? Why did I do this? What? And then you just start to question everything. That's why it hurts so much because you're like trying to figure out why it didn't go the way it went.
Training camp, Igor, MMA, obviously. Anywhere else you've been working?
I've been working with the boys down at Freestyle. I've been going down there sparring with Justin Van Heerden, Colby, Jarrett Wilbraham, uh, Kasib, uh, Volk has been there a few times. Yeah, just been going down to Wollongong and getting in some work with those boys because yeah, they're high level guys.
And in Igor, I seen you moving around with the double champ, the former double champ, Martin Nguyen.
But yeah,
Has
so
he been in the gym a
he has
lot?
been, bro. He has been. He has been helping me out a lot. After the last fight, he's actually reached out and was like, "Bro, let's get some work in, man, and let's just try and be together and help each other out as much as possible." And I was like, I just welcome that, man. I welcome that
Yeah.
because Martin's my guy, man. Martin's my guy. He's never asked anything from me, and he's always just been there to help me out. So, Martin, if you're watching this, bro, you're the man, brother. You're always looking out.
Yo, I remember interviewing Martin when he had a job in a garage. And
Yeah.
this was before he was a champ. And he was like, man, I'm struggling, man. And he had kids at that time too. And
Yeah,
then to see where he's at now, it's just like, I'm so happy for him.
yeah. Well, I do get a lot of inspiration from him because I ask him about his life experience. I don't just ask him about fighting because it's
Mhm.
just fighting's fighting, but I do ask him about his own experiences with him, coming up through the ranks and him having to deal with family life, having to, make the sacrifices that he's made, and yeah, I get a lot of. I feel like I get a lot of mentoring from him, so which is obviously massive for me. Even though I feel like I'm experienced, I just feel like he's just has so much more wealth of knowledge because he's been through it all.
Yeah, definitely a great addition on top of, your coach Igor. At Igor, have you changed anything like with the camp, like the structure of it or anything like that? Or is it just kind of like the
Yeah,
same?
yeah, we changed it up. So I feel like the last couple of camps, I was just man, I was running myself down. Like I was the sessions
Yeah.
that I was doing, I was just killing myself every session. So like I was I was literally like running on fumes on the important sessions, and yet going 100% doing all this other stuff, trying to please all my other coaches as well, like my strength and conditioning coach, my striking coach, and then obviously I've got to go to Ego MMA and do my MMA sessions where I feel like I was just spread a little bit too thin. Just put it as that. Like I felt like my attention was all over the place where I should really be just focusing on myself and how I feel. I felt like I was just trying to please my coaches by going to each session, and it's kind of hard because one coach will see, oh, you only have one session today, so they don't see the other session, how hard the other session was. So they feel like, oh, they have you fresh, so they'll smash you. And you go to the next session, you're like, okay, I got through that last session, and then the next session they're like, okay, I didn't see that you got smashed the last session, but we're gonna smash you again because I didn't know that you got smashed the last session. So I feel like it was a massive thing, a massive change in terms of just communicating with the team and figuring
Mhm.
what's working and what sessions to cut back on and just like saying, oh, well, we're doing conditioning today, there's no point in doing more conditioning or doing your hard sparring rounds the same day you do your hard conditioning. Like, so it's always just juggling the ball with all the coaches and just like getting them to sort of like all mesh together. So,
Yeah, man, improving upon, your foundation. I think that's basically what you're doing with that. And what can the fans expect, man, in Perth? The last time you went there, what I mean? What can they expect from you?
you know me. I'm always down for an exciting fight. It's always the opponent that seems to want to hold and slow
Yeah.
down the fight. Everyone wants to become a wrestler. Like everyone wants to grab and pull me up against, and I'm just trying to put on an entertaining fight. But man, I'm expecting a finish. I honestly do feel I can get him out of there. Like I said, he's world class, but I'm gonna be there the whole three rounds, 5 minutes. I'm going to be the one pushing the pace, and I'm going to be there to fight. So whether he breaks or not, that's up to him. But I'm going to be ready to fight those 3 5 minute rounds as hard as I can, full pace, and I'm going to be looking to trying to get him out there. But it's up to him whether he wants to be in there with me. So
I think he will. He's the type of guy that he loves the pace. You know what I mean? Like you've seen his fights. He'll push forward, and whenever someone does that, man, it seems like you do get a finish. So we will see what happens. One last question about the division. You got Ilia Topuria at the top. He's the champion. What do you think of him as the champion?
Boo, boo, boo. He's terrible. He's like, how do you get such an amazing champion like Jose Aldo? I mean, Connor
Mm,
didn't really defend. He just went straight up. Then you had
mm,
Max, who was like, again, willing to fight everyone, fought
great. Yeah.
everyone. Then you had someone like Volk as well that was just so active and just like such a great champion. Then you got this guy who just won the belt, and then he's talking all this shit online saying he's going to be going up to fight Islam and he's not going to defend his belts, and there's no one like he's saying that all the oldies in the division he's not going to fight and blah blah blah. And I just feel like he's just left. I don't know. Maybe I'm biased because he's left a bad taste in my mouth because what he did to Volk. But I
Mm.
just think he's terrible. He's a terrible champion.
August 17th, UFC 305 Perth. You get to see Josh back in action. Thank you, Josh, always for the time and all the best in this fight. It is an exciting matchup, man. This one is going to be really good.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. As long as it lasts.